pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. I assume everybody's here for the extension on the moratorium for the solar panels?
Yep.
Alrighty. Normally we have a 15-minute public comment period. So if you would like to say something, address the board with any comments, I'd ask you to do so, to stand up and state your name and your address and your comment.
Back here, but my name is Robert Elsner on 15 Warren Avenue, Massena. I'm also Director of Diagnostic and Cardiac Imaging at our hospital. Mr. Supervisor, you have often stated and been quoted that you've received legal advice from our town lawyer, as well as having support from the town board concerning the multitude of actions you have taken to reshape our hospital board. Unfortunately, I have been unable to find legal opinions issued by our town lawyer or public comments of consent or dissent from members of this board regarding your actions and decisions. I'm here to voice 4 points concerning the conduct of this town board in regards to outstanding institution of our community hospital. 1, there is a difference in having authority and how that authority is exercised. You, Mr. Supervisor, have exceeded and abused your authority. You, the board members, who are supposed to act as a check and balance, have abdicated your authority. When it comes to defining conflict of interest, the town code uses words like raise, suspicion, reasonable, and impression. It is disturbing that you, this board, and apparently in concert with the town lawyer, have decreed that no conflict of interest exists in your appointment of Dr. Maraska to our hospital board. What is your basis, legal or otherwise, for this stance? Have you actually read his contract? Because if you had, then you would know that these words do apply and that there is a clear conflict of interest. Number 3, this board should be focused on one thing. That is the growth and prosperity of this town, not micromanaging and undercutting the efforts of our qualified hospital board. Certainly not running our excellent hospital or shaping our future health care, for which you are unqualified for. So sign the asset transfer agreement and step aside and let the professionals do their job. Finally, to end on a positive note, because that's your wish, I would like to thank this board for providing me something to do in my pending retirement, to dedicate my time and energies to ensure that none of you are reelected to the post you hold. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gina Snyder, and I'm here representing the Blue Spruce Motel and all the travelers coming here and all the people that were citizens coming back and people relocating back here. Plus, I have a lot of donut customers who want me to be here. I want to thank you, Mr. Carbone, for calling me personally to let me know that the expansion of the Massena Airport runway around the same time that Augsburg was considering expanding was only a rumor. And that the airport only bought that house on North Racket because the airport requested that the owner put a light up on top, and the owner didn't want to, so the airport bought that house.
The airport didn't buy it. I'm not going to argue with you. Go ahead with your comments.
The airport didn't buy that house? The town bought that house?
I didn't buy the house. The airport didn't buy the house. No.
Who bought the house and fenced it in?
I'm not going to argue with you. Go ahead.
Okay. And that the land was purchased, the land around it was just purchased because you needed to maintain and upkeep the trees that were on that land. So I just wanted to repeat that Massena was never gonna expand our runway like Ogdensburg did, right?
We need to talk again, apparently.
I guess so, because you told me it was a rumor. I even told my dad it was a rumor. I had some follow-up questions about that house. I was wondering if it was used for any housing anyone? Or if it was fully furnished? Or if utilities are still being kept up on that house? Can you answer any of those?
Steve, it's your meeting.
I was wondering, Steve, do you know if the electricity is kept up on that house?
Yes,
And water and sewer is still being paid?
yes,
Do you rent the house out?
yes,
Do you pay 3% motel tax, like I do,
no,
to the county?
no.
At the last board meeting, I asked the board why you have not received your 2017 audited financials after requesting them for over a year. You stated you were waiting for your auditors to complete them, and that the auditors were waiting on nothing from you. You said you were going to get back to me. Did you contact your auditors?
Just found out today it's going to be online tomorrow and available for your perusal.
They completed them early? I talked to, because you weren't honest with me, it took me 5 days of my own investigation, and I contacted Lori Potvin from Bowers and Company, who's your CPA, to do your audited financials, and that she told me that they're waiting on the audited financials from the hospital, and that they have been in contact with that firm, and that the audit for that they were waiting for the audit from the hospital, and that they were also waiting on information and clarification to complete the hospital's financials. I contacted Bill Wildrich from the CPA firm for the hospital. He was able to inform me that he had just received a legal opinion and a legal determination on 1/4, which allows them to move forward and complete them by February. So now you're telling me they're going to be up and online tomorrow? It's in my humble opinion, after I've been going through your audited financials, that there will be an audited note in those audited financials from an auditor that will state that the town will be responsible for the $30 million in liabilities of the hospital. And it will be reflected in those audited notes, in turn, about the impact on how the town will have the ability to get bonding or other notes. That's my own personal opinion. With a net position of $28 million in 2016, this liability will break the bank of the town. In my honest opinion, the town board fired a lawyer that was handling these auditor notes because they didn't want it to be known publicly. Did you fire any lawyers? I have a feeling that we're waiting for New York State Department of Health's $30 million to help pay off these liabilities. The town board would prefer to sell our hospital and pay off these liabilities versus pairing with a hospital to keep our hospital open and keep jobs here in Massena. At this point, my hands are tied. I will not know the answer until we get our audited financials back for 2016, which looks like tomorrow. And I'm frustrated and cannot make an educated opinion about what's happening to this last town-owned hospital. All the people I trusted to make educated and professional decisions about Massena Hospital have been released from their positions, and I cannot make an informed decision. 12,245 people here in Massena cannot make an informed decision. My business has 15 motel rooms. Without the support from our hospital, many of Massena businesses will close, including mine. This hospital has a major economic impact of the town and village, and I'm requesting that you give us the same courtesy as you did for our airport. I would like a presentation to the public from both hospitals in question. I'm very confused. I feel this is a reasonable request. Can you grant my request?
You can't answer anything?
That's how it happens around here.
What's the plan of this 15 minutes?
Hi, I'm Debbie Willer. I reside at 12 Prospect Avenue here in Massena, and I'm currently the Vice President for the Massena Memorial Hospital Auxiliary. We have a letter, and we will give it into record. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, it is the purpose of Massena Memorial Auxiliary to render service to the Massena Memorial Hospital, and the monies derived shall be used for the betterment of Massena Memorial Hospital and its patients, and to assist Massena Memorial Hospital in promoting the health and welfare of the community in accordance with the objectives established by the institution. The MMH Auxiliary has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase hospital equipment since its inception in 1952, as well as provide services to the hospital, including the gift shop, the juice cart, and staffing the information desk. We are proud of our hospital and all the services it provides to this community and the surrounding area, as well as the occupational opportunities it offers the citizens of Massena and the surrounding communities. At this time, we would like to express our sincere disappointment and concern about the recent publicity that the hospital has been receiving in the press as a direct result of this board's actions. All this negative publicity will hurt the hospital. It will affect inpatient and outpatient numbers in all areas. People will start to question the integrity of the hospital and start looking elsewhere for medical services. Recruiting doctors and medical staff will be much more difficult as the reputation of the hospital is dragged through the mud with all of this negative publicity. We are very concerned that a highly regarded businessman such as Scott Wilson is not being reappointed to the board. And we are equally concerned that a doctor who is not employed by the hospital and doesn't even live in our service area is appointed to the board. Our greatest fear is what this town would be like without the presence of a full-service community hospital if MMH is no longer able to be sustainable. With the possible exception of the local school, the hospital is the heart of a community. When people are looking to move into an area, they first check out the school system and then they look at the medical facilities. Concern about local medical facilities is of even greater concern when you live in an area that is as rural as northern New York. Accessibility of local medical services is essential to those in our community who are faced with the challenges of transportation due to one's financial situation or their age. We feel that the hospital board has spent a huge amount of time and effort into looking at possible affiliates. The people on this board are familiar with the field of medicine as well as being members of this community, and they know what is required to maintain a sustainable hospital, which is the best hospitals and what are the best hospitals to consider affiliation. Please let them do what they do best, and that's respectively submitted from the Massena Memorial Hospital Auxiliary. There are a number of
My name is Max Schoen, 58 North Main Street. Listening to presentation, I'm a little confused. What does the town carry as an asset, the value of the asset for the hospital at this point? Can you tell me?
I've got $36,701,000.
Okay, and you have no, you have never put money into the hospital directly, right, into the operation?
Account? I didn't believe it in 1986, the taxpayers were tasked with actually contributing to keep the hospital.
But the money that shows as liability is,
Hospital paid that off though.
Fine.
They paid it
One
back.
at a time.
thank you. You have, they have outstanding bonding, which you're backing, is that correct? Is an issue?
I believe it's around $25 million.
Matt, let's be clear though, I don't think there's any bond that are outstanding with regard to the hospital. Those were paid off by a grant last year,
They are all paid off?
2 years ago.
All right, on to the next one. Have you both, either, any of you sat in on the presentations for the affiliation, the groups or the hospitals that have come in? You've sat into all of them?
2.
Being,
Crowds.
and are you ready to make a decision on that? Have the other board members met and you, so when they have to vote, well, whose decision, how are they gonna make a decision?
Good question. Boy, it sure would have been nice if the rest of the board had been brought in on
Well, you're supposed to be the supervisor, you should have rounded them up.
Well, I should have rounded up the board of managers, but
Well,
Which,
Well,
that was,
the board of managers, you appoint the board of managers,
I do.
right? You'll before you.
Correct.
You select these people because their knowledge and their background.
Correct.
But at this point, you don't really want to listen to what they have to say. When they're going with, they want to go with Kraus, and you're against it, obviously.
No. I have not said I'm against anything. In fact, I've not said I'm for. What I have said is, boy, wouldn't it be nice if the board, the town board that owns the hospital, that is responsible to all you people, all you taxpayers, that are gonna be stuck with this if we don't affiliate with the right person, yes, then I would make a decision. But we haven't. We haven't been included in anything. In fact, at the last December meeting that the Board of Managers held, Councilman Carbone, the liaison to the hospital, specifically asked at the end of the regular meeting if there was anything on affiliation that they could share with the town board. You know what their answer was? No. So then we get up and leave, they go into executive session, and then that evening, there's a press release that they want to affiliate with Kraus. Talking to several of the hospital board members, they didn't even know that they were going to talk about the affiliation in that board.
Are these the two board members that were appointed?
They were not.
In the
So,
the ones that you have recently appointed, you feel you vetted them for their expertise and background,
yes,
and they have no prejudice or animosity against the hospital?
what do you mean? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, to say that there's animosity towards the hospital.
Right.
Who would not be in favor of Massena Memorial Hospital?
I do.
That's like saying, I don't support U.S. troops. Everybody in this room, I cannot imagine, is not for Massena Memorial
Well, yeah,
Hospital.
you can tell because of the situation, that's why they're here. There's some probably that aren't, but anyway, why would you not pick Kraus?
I don't know the first thing about Kraus.
I think you said you would.
I sat in on a presentation. I got the,
Melanie was there, I was
at
out of town.
that presentation, and it was a very brief presentation. It was not an in-depth presentation. It was more of, this is who we are, where we're from. There was not a lot of information shared. It was not a long presentation. It was very just the basic.
I've been
We're from
trying
Syracuse, this is
for
how many
over a
people we
year.
have, how many doctors, what are our specialties, what are our services. It did not go in depth. It did not say what their plan was. It was just, it was like picking up a brochure and saying, this is who we are.
You were there but had a right to ask?
I did, but not a lot of information. But they were also getting ready to go into their regular board meeting at 4.
Which wasn't a much time.
So really, when we're looking at this whole picture of this whole entire situation, we all need information. I need information. And I'm not getting that information. We have asked for that information, but how is anybody to make a judgment or a decision?
Do you have that in writing, how you've asked for it?
We invited the board of managers to a meeting. Come to a meeting, sit with us, talk with us. Let's lay this on the table. This isn't about pointing fingers. This isn't about saying this one, that one, that one. Tell us why. Let's share information. This has gone on way too long. I have been on both sides of this board, and I have seen it from both sides. You only get told what people want you to tell. We're done with that. It's time we move on, go ahead and do what is
Right.
best for this community. Because I am just as frustrated as every single one of these people are in this room.
I think a lot of us are concerned that if you go to Potsdam
Yep.
Hospital, we'll be a Band-Aid station.
And we understand that. I totally do.
Okay.
But I can't make a decision. Speaking for myself,
But
I'm not speaking for these gentlemen up here.
But if you feel that way, then I would say they're out of the running to start with.
But what I'm saying is, the board of managers needs to share all of their information for us to make a good due diligence decision. I need information.
And you can go to the hospital yourself and get that information.
And we've asked the board to meet face to face.
I'm not saying the board. You ones that are making the decision, you go to the hospitals and ask it. Not our hospital. Go to their ones you want to affiliate with and ask
and,
them.
We should be all on the same page is how I
Well,
feel.
maybe you should be, but it isn't, obviously.
I agree with you. I see
And,
exactly
debate
where you're saying.
generalizations about Band-Aid station. How do you know that? Show me the writing that says,
Because he's, well, you say he. There's nothing in writing. that's my concern on a lot of other
Well,
people.
don't you think that we should investigate that and find out before we make generalizations
I
like
hope,
that?
I hope you will, but I hope the whole
Well,
board,
I've tried.
I hope the whole board would.
We worked diligently in an effort to get it. We have not. We've hit roadblock after roadblock from that board of managers.
But they have not attended the meetings, as you said, right?
They have not.
Thank you.
So, I'm Lenora Levine, I live at 25 Prospect in Messina. I'm a retired, longtime employee, I'm a native, grew up here, I came back here, best decision I ever made. Just in regard to the meeting that the board didn't show up to, I can only speak for myself, but I had a 3-day notice for something that was right on the tail of Christmas vacation. I had 20 people in my house, and there was too much chaos, I could not make it, I tried, I had to cancel. But just because that happened is no reason to start over, everybody go back to their corners and come back out and meet in the middle. Because all this bullshit, and I think it is bullshit, I'm sorry, needs to stop. And I think we are all adults and we can start over. And I think everybody deserves a presentation. I think there should be some big presentation, use the high school auditorium, invite everybody and get Kraus and Potsdam here and the Department of Health if possible, and have some kind of orderly fashion where people can ask questions, but that the facts will be laid out. There has been too many secrets, so that's all I have to say. I hope you'll take that into
Lenore,
consideration.
my first appointment at the hospital, well, my first one was there now, hospital board of managers. The whole idea is that the board of managers would go and investigate and find out who would be best. And then we could make a presentation. Right now, with the polarity of this, I don't know if that would.
Well, I think it could take care of a lot of birds with one stone if they came up and presented to everybody, rather than spending several more years doing this. The other thing I wanted to address is that at the meeting where you said, is there anything else the board can tell us? And then you left. We did go into executive session, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we came out of executive session to make that vote. So you had every right to be there.
The agenda didn't call for anything other than, it didn't call for a vote for affiliation. You went in executive session to credential doctors. There was no mention of choosing an affiliate. I specifically asked if there's information that the chairman said they had a discussion with the executive board about affiliation. I asked if that could be shared with the town, so we knew what was going on, and that's what happened in the middle of the night. A vote was made. Whether it was made with knowledge of what Kraus had to offer, or whether it was made for any other reason, it was made without knowledge of what was going into that executive session, or out of the executive session for the vote. Let me say one more thing. I don't want to diminish the fact that you had family at your house, but on the 2nd of January, we had a meeting right here in this room, and I think the majority of the hospital board was here, and I think that the majority of the management staff of the hospital was here. The following day, we had a meeting here, nobody could show up. I shouldn't say nobody, there was a few here.
On the second, and I don't.
There was some people here, there was a few board members here, but there's a hell of a lot more the day before on the 2nd.
Well, there's a lot of meetings that seem to happen without everybody knowing, so that could change.
I agree exactly with what you said, Lenore, but I believe in compromise. And 3 years ago, by a unanimous vote of the hospital board of managers, they requested that we accept privatization of the hospital. That was 3 years ago. To my knowledge, and I don't think I missed very many, if any, meetings, the hospital board and the town board have never met. I believe if that meeting had taken place on the 4th of January this year, that we could have reached some common ground.
So let's reschedule it. I mean, why?
Well, all right, but first, can we have the resolution and the documentation for that Kraus vote?
Okay.
I mean, is that available tonight?
I don't have that.
I mean, what did it say? What, ensure it's open for public information. What was in that resolution?
Was there any proposal from Kraus, Lenore?
You just tell them a FOIL request. We can get that and send it to Barb and have them send it.
Well, what was in it generally? Carol?
That the Massena Memorial Hospital Board of Managers, after looking exhaustively at the other entities that had given us presentations, were in overwhelming support of affiliating with Kraus.
What, for what?
Word for words.
For what? What are you getting from Kraus for that?
Well, you need to come to some of the discussions and some of the
I've been to
meetings.
every-
No, you have not, Steve.
I-
No, you have not. I
Any-
beg to differ.
Well, we'll check the record.
And just,
What did they offer? Did they offer money, or what did
this
they
is a
offer?
public comment period, so I'm gonna make a public comment at my own peril, because the last Massena Memorial Hospital Board of Managers person that stood at this podium was summarily removed. My name is Carol Fenton. I'm a resident, longtime resident of the Massena, New York. I'm retired from the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation after working for 36 years in the federal government. I was appointed 2 years ago to the Memorial Hospital Board of Managers by then Supervisor Joe Gray. Joe, in a conversation with me before he appointed me, said that he did not want a yes person on the board. He could not be fully involved in the day-to-day operations of Massena Memorial Hospital. It would take too much time. That's what the board is for. The committees that meet weekly, the work that is done by the employees preparing for those meetings, and the information that is exchanged is exhaustive. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the management team and the other nursing staff, etc., that work for the hospital. Joe told me, don't be a yes person. I want you to listen. I want you to be involved. I want you to voice your concerns, but do not be a yes person. Be your own person, form your own opinion, and express those opinions. And that's what I have done for the last 2 years. One other comment, and thank you for the time allotted to me. Massena Memorial Hospital has put in for a grant, as you well know. We have not heard yet that we've gotten that grant. Our fingers are crossed that we will receive that grant. The purpose of the monies from that grant will be used to pay the town for the trailing liabilities. So the 35 million or whatever number that you expressed, Mr. Carbone, you would have the town, not you, the town would have no trailing liabilities. After that's done, the asset transfer agreement has to be signed by the town before we can affiliate with any entity. Why are you so, it's not a question. I fail to see why you are so interested in who we affiliate with if the main purpose is your responsibility to the town members to make sure that they are not in any financial constraints because of the hospital. Just think about that. Your responsibility is to every taxpayer in this room. And if you have no money in the deal, what is your problem? I challenge you all to ask that question. Thank you.
Well, I mean, before I look it up, I just would like to say the 35 million would not be covered by that state grant. The state grant is for 20 million. So there would still be trailing liabilities, and we would still be stuck with it. And if you read the resolution that the town approved 3 years ago, I've got it memorized.
Okay.
It says that the town may sign an asset agreement if it's happy with the deal. It says nothing about affiliation. I don't know, where did you think you got the idea that it's you and you alone that can decide who the...
Have you read the bylaws, Mr. Supervisor?
I most certainly, I got those
And the
memorized too.
municipal law. Eric?
What law?
Yeah, the law, the town law, section 64 of the town law, if you want to go look later, says that the town board is the one responsible for transferring assets of the town. All right, so you have that.
Correct.
There's also a constitutional limitation, a New York State constitutional limitation about transferring town assets for adequate consideration, okay? We can't gift town assets away, all right? And this board is responsible for any transfer of town assets. So when you say, what do we care? Well, we have a statutory and a constitutional obligation, the town board does, to make sure that those assets are transferred in a way that is fair to the balance of the taxpayers. And there's also the concern that grant that you've talked about isn't guaranteed.
No.
And it's not guaranteed for the full amount of the liabilities, right? So, of course, the town board doesn't want to sign an asset transfer agreement where we don't know what the liabilities remaining are going to be. We don't know any plan for how those liabilities are going to be satisfied. And we don't want to have to go back to the taxpayers and say, number one, your hospital has been transferred to an entity that doesn't have the capability to go forward. And number two, by the way, as part of that process, here's a bill for, pick your number, $15 million, $20 million, whatever the grant is not going to cover, right? This town board has that responsibility back to the taxpayers, and they take it seriously, right? So when you're asking them and you're being critical of them, and the hospital board, I mean, think about that vote on December 19th, right? That wasn't a rational vote. That was an emotional vote. We have asked, and I can get the emails for you after we're done here.
Oh, I have them all.
We have asked for things like, hey, what are the criteria that the board is going to use to evaluate the options? What are the pros and cons of the various institutions? What's the financial viability going forward? The response that we got for that, first, we didn't get a response for about a week, a little more than a week. All right, as we asked those questions. We get a response back that has none of the details, absolutely zero. Steve writes back and says, hey, there's no details there. How are we supposed to make a decision? We have to respond, and we have to be accountable to the taxpayers for an incredible liability and an incredible asset. All the while, 420 some odd jobs are on the line? You think they're not losing sleep about that? That's just silliness. So the response back finally, 2.5, 3 weeks, maybe it was a full 4 weeks later, was to send us copies of the proposals that were the PowerPoint presentations that the boards had seen over the summer. And it was in that context that you guys did that vote without it being on the agenda on December 19th, after the town board members had left and after they had asked about it. And you're curious why they're suspicious and concerned about the board, when you can't pay your pension liabilities, you didn't pay them last year, we've been told you can't pay them this year, and you're here criticizing them?
I'm not,
It's a two-way street, right? I can get back up on the soapbox and go on for an hour, and I don't wanna do that. We're all here because we care deeply about this institution,
absolutely.
right?
And I was
don't think
making,
there's anyone here who's not.
Andy, for your clarification, I was making my comments as a town resident and town taxpayer. I'm not authorized to speak for the board. I am a board member and I do have an opinion. And that's what I gave tonight. Thank you.
Anyhow, I just wanted all of you to know that we take this seriously, that we're trying to factor in everything and everybody. We know it's important. We know it's critical to Massena that this hospital is viable going forward. And we want to do so in a way that maximizes the opportunity to have it here for as long as we possibly can, without saddling the taxpayers with an incredible amount of debt and no ability to pay it back. And no hospital.
Well. I'm sorry, sir.
Supervisor, how are you? I thought I recognize your face from the newspaper, so I can know. So I don't want you to ask my question. I just present my opinion because you raised the question, why do we choose a figure across, not the CPH, right? That's the simple question. Okay. So I'm a doctor from Massena Hospital. I'm a neurologist. And I just tell you my opinion, but not necessarily other doctors' opinion, but it's same opinion. So you talk about the financial issue, political issue, etc. Favor this one, that one. Okay, I just want to tell you my opinion regarding medical reasons, the medical reasons. We all compare with Cross and CPH, which one is better. Medically, these two hospitals have no comparison. They can compare these two hospitals. Total different levels. CPH should be the same level as Massena Hospital. Should be the same level in terms of the hospital. Just they have more specialty doctors. They have more money. So that's why it seems like this hospital is better than Massena Hospital. In terms of medical level, same level. If let's say, because we affiliate to a hospital, we want the hospital can support us financially and medically. We want specialty, we want high level specialty. That's the general rule. If we affiliate with the same level hospital, that one sounds very good. And the only thing is, Canton Boston Hospital have more specialty than Massena Hospital have, because they have endocrinologist, they have rheumatologist, Massena don't have. However, Massena has nephrologist, they don't have. And they have not have neurologist for a long time until July 2018. Okay, at that time I was only neurologist between Canton Boston Hospital and here. Now they have a hospital, general neurologist. So if I have some complicated neurological case, I'll not refer to Canton Boston Hospital. I'll refer to like Upstate Hospital, Cross Hospital, University of Vermont, those kind of hospitals, tertiary care hospital. So different levels. In Cross Hospital, I did the research. They just, in terms of neurology, they have comprehensive stroke center. They have a neurology group, neurosurgery group, and that's required by the DOH for comprehensive stroke center. If the patient get like acute stroke, we can give TPA from emergency room, but the patient needs like a mechanical retrieval of the clot. CPH can do nothing. No, not zero. Their neurology is not is better than our neurology, and they don't have nephrologists. So we are the same level, just different. We have different specialties, not even. So if I refer a patient, I will refer to a tertiary care, not the same level. So no comparison with these two hospitals, medically. Financially, I don't know. I don't know the financial will they give us money or not? I don't think so. And also, I'm thinking, because I remember probably DOH of New York State had decisions. They said Massena Hospital is in need to this area, correct? Hospital in need, that's the word. It means we need a full-service hospital, not just a rehab center. Because this is the density of the population is very low, right? And if we want to a hospital, we cannot just travel more than 20 miles to another hospital. That's not good. That's not good. So although the hospital is small, but we still need that. If this hospital in New York City, in Manhattan, who cares? Close. Doesn't matter. Close 50 beds. They don't feel that. But here, it's different. So we need a full-service hospital. So that's what we need, hospital. Full-service hospital, not rehab center. So that's my opinion, medical opinion. So you don't have to answer my question. I just give other people my opinion. Another thing is, I'm not sure. You talk about asset transfer or something. Of course, that's your job, and of course, that's you are the owner, right? Supposedly, you should financially support the hospital. Because as an owner, you should support the hospital, but I didn't see any support. But now, it seems you talk more about this kind of transfer. Yeah, asset transfer is important. You did a good job. But after transfer, that's affiliation. Is this your job or not? Your job? Yes. Because after transfer, that's not, you're no longer the owner. Right? That's a hospital decision, not board's decision, not town's decision. Correct. I don't understand. Initially, I was like, why you should understand? Of course, it's better to tell you from the hospital board, tell hospital idea. That's good. You should know. That's good. But decision making is still from town or from school board or from hospital board. That's my question. All right.
Did you know his question? Did you understand his question?
I think, I mean, it's.
He wants to know, is the final decision of hospital board or yours?
No, it's ours. The hospital belongs to the taxpayers of the town of Massena, which we represent. It's a town asset, so we have that awful burdensome responsibility to decide where it goes and how it's shaped on advice from the Board of Managers.
Thank you.
Which we haven't gotten. And Robert, before anybody else gets up, I would just like to ask, I don't normally do this, but you said that one of my appointees had a conflict. Is there any other board members that you can think of that should be thrown off the board that might have conflicts? Doctor, any doctors on that board that work in Massena Memorial?
I think there's a stretch.
Does he?
Well, this is, okay, since we're going down that path. 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, when we had the last set of elections, I wanted to run for this board.
Right.
Okay? Because I didn't agree with the whole privatization process.
Right.
Okay? I had many discussions. Matter of fact, I was a writing candidate. I was told, under legal advice, that would represent a conflict of interest, because I was an active employee of the hospital, and my purpose for doing that was to protect the hospital. Okay? So, here's somebody who has a contract with this hospital, and that's millions of dollars, that if you affiliate with another hospital, he risks losing that contract. If he stays with Canton Potsdam, he's not going to, and you stay with Canton Potsdam, he has that financial interest protected.
You know, let's not get specific with you.
Well, I'm just,
Wait a minute. He has contracts with other competing hospitals, of which are part-time. Well, well, wait a minute.
I'm not necessarily as concerned with Governor or with Potsdam as I am discussing the future of this hospital, Steve. And I think everybody in the room speaks to that as well.
I'm not sure what your point is.
What I'm saying is, I'm not interested in the other contracts that Dr. Maraska has. I'm interested in this contract, and the conflict,
Well,
excuse me, and the conflict of interest therein.
Well, conflicts are not illegal or wrong.
Really?
We happen to have a doctor that makes a very good salary on that board of managers. We also have two businessmen that make money from the hospital on that board of managers.
If I may then, excuse me, if I may. My name is David Romine. I'm a resident on Shea Street here in Massena. I've known many of you for many, many years. You and I have not met yet, I'm sure we will at some point. Your own words, if a conflict isn't a bad thing. We have Dr. Maresca, these are your own words from the Saturday, 5th January edition of the Watertown Daily Times. Quote, we have Dr. Maresca. He's a finance guy from way back. All right, I'll ask. Is he a doctor or a finance guy?
He's both.
Really?
Really?
Would you explain your comment then?
He's a finance guy from way back.
Could you give us a little bit more detail? I can read that, Steve. I've read the quote, I'd like you to explain it.
Well, he knows about the finances of hospitals, and he can speak expertly to them. What more do you
I
need?
just have one more comment I want to make about conflict of interest. At the last organizational meeting we had an organizational meeting here. There were votes taken about people being put on boards, and I heard from at least 2 people that they abstained because their spouse or they worked at that agency. So I'm just wondering, and here in my head is where the conflict of interest lies. If we are voting on something that has to do with Potsdam, does Dr. Maresca and Suzanne Day need to abstain? I don't know Robert's rules and bylaws.
Well, I mean, we're way down the road from that. And we haven't decided, have we?
No, but you're talking about somebody who will have access to things that are.
Unlike our temporary, part-time CEO that works.
He's chief of the medical staff out there. Well,
Therefore,
he
no
doesn't live in the
conflict.
area.
No conflict there, I can see.
Yeah,
He also doesn't sit on the board.
All right, I'm sorry, I normally don't get into making comments like that.
Steve, you say you're not in a hurry, you want to go through this, but Sam told me the other day they've only got a few months left as far as
Oh,
that.
yeah, I didn't, did I say?
I think you better get moving, because you may not have a hospital at all, then you won't have to worry about your 36 million.
There we go,
It'll be down
I
the drain.
agree wholeheartedly.
Well, don't put it off what you just said.
I didn't put it off.
You said you're in a hurry.
Come on, this has been going on for years. Come
Tell me.
on, do something, for God's sake.
Can I just ask a question? If we
Come
partner.
up here, say your name.
Phew, this is ridiculous.
I'm Courtney Kelly, I currently reside at 26 Hospital Drive. I am a clerk at the surgical clinic. And I just see that if we partner with CPH, whether you guys have formed your own opinion or not already, I don't see where they need 2 surgeons that Massena Memorial has. I don't see where they need a neurologist. I don't see where they need our primary care physicians because they have a clinic in Brazier and they have a clinic in Norfolk. So we've already eliminated our Norfolk clinic. Our Brazier will be next because they won't need another one. Most of our doctors rent here, so they're gonna leave anyways because they're not needed and they're not gonna move to Camp Hudson Hospital. I just see that happening and all of us clerks are not gonna have jobs. Most of us have families and those of us who do own properties here are gonna be screwed. We're not gonna be able to afford our mortgages, we're not gonna be able to afford the taxes, because we're not gonna have jobs, because Camp Potsdam will eliminate all of those. That is what I see as a taxpayer of Massena, and I don't wanna see that happen. I wanna see what's best for the town, the hospital, and everybody in this community. I want them to still be able to receive the care that we all deserve, and I also see that if we partner with CPH and liquidate our hospital, that alcohol will be leaving too, because they won't have an emergency room within a reasonable distance in case of an emergency. They're going to have to find other places to continue to run their operations as well. So has Camp Potsdam mentioned to you or said anything about their plan with the hospital?
No, and that's why people that say stuff like that, say things such as that, and I ask, where did you get that information?
I'm just seeing that as,
I know,
I
nobody
formerly
knows.
worked there, and if they can't guarantee our positions, because they already have all of those, we only have one or two specialties that they don't have, they can easily obtain those. So what do they need from us? They gain nothing from partnering with us.
I guess that's my question, and I talk about this all the time, is that people say things like that, but I ask, where did you get that from?
I'm just
So
viewing that as
we
my
don't
own
know.
personal.
We don't, just like
So
we
we
don't
don't
know
know.
what Kraus is going to do. We haven't gotten anything from anybody.
So there's
The
no
Board
way
of
for you to
Managers
reach
is
out to
supposed to
Camp
be
Potsdam?
researching that. They made a decision about Kraus. We asked for it, why, the rationalization, the resolution, nothing.
But you as a town board can't reach out to CPH or Kraus or anybody else that has offered to affiliate with us and
Well, we
receive
might
that
have
yourself?
I think you should.
Why not?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Get formulated, let's do some geographical. How far is Kraus from here? 160. How far is Canton Potsdam? Okay, what's Canton Potsdam building right now? Ambulatory surgery center.
No, it's not.
In a 32-bed tower, 30 minutes away from us. We have an ambulatory surgery center.
And a good one.
We have beds, very good ones. I've been there many a times. Common sense, Canton Potsdam's not gonna operate two ambulatory surgery centers, 30 minutes apart from each other. Okay? Kraus, not going to take our ambulatory surgery, because they're 160 miles away. They're not gonna ask our patients to drive 160 miles away. So if you ask me where some of this is coming from, think of consolidation. What services are going to be consolidated? That's what you're gonna lose here, because those services are going to go there.
Well, you know,
And that's common sense.
well, when you retire, we'll put you on the board.
I'm gonna be running, so trust me.
Excuse me, I'd like to say a couple things. My name is Joseph Gray, I live at 105 West Hatfield Street. Didn't you just say you heard presentations from both hospitals? So what did they tell you? Don't look the same.
I'm looking at Melanie, who already answered.
Okay, you did? Did they, so Canton Potsdam didn't get any idea what they're gonna do, Cross didn't get any idea what they're
I
gonna do?
can't speak for Canton Potsdam, I can't speak for them, Joe, I was not part of that. I was part of, for a very brief introduction, presentation from Kraus that I believe happened maybe September or October of this year. It wasn't in the beginning of the year or anything that, and it was a very brief, kind of just like I said, a brochure, you know, they listed their services, how many people they have, how many beds they have, you know, some of their other little things they do. It was very brief,
I understand.
and that was it.
Is it wrong to assume that the hospital board has had more in-depth discussions with both
I cannot
facilities?
answer for them.
No, I'm not asking you, so I guess, so as a taxpayer, and I pay a lot of taxes, by the way, I'm saying we've empowered the hospital board to do the investigation. They met with both groups, both hospitals. They decided they like Cross better for a variety of reasons. I think it's Dr. Kang, he's the only neurologist we have, right? But the doctor made a great point. From day one, in the discussion since when I was involved, the town is always the motto, the recurring theme is marry up. If you're going to consolidate with another hospital, marry up. As the doctor points out, Canton Potsdam ain't marrying up. That's marrying her sister. And I don't think it's a great idea. So Cross is indeed marrying. Cross is a teaching hospital. It has all sorts of specialties. It has residents, it has interns that can come up here. There are a lot of pluses that I know just from knowing a little bit about Cross because my wife's been there a number of times over the years. So I agree we should go back, we should return to square one and have some discussion. I agree more importantly on openness. You would see him at a 2-hour meeting, as I've been told, with CSA at the hotel a few weeks ago. What happened there?
Read Chuck's blog down there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Read Chuck's blog, it's on Chuck's blog.
Chuck's court.
Where who? Where the hell's Chuck?
I don't know who Chuck is.
He had a blog. So can you tell us what happened at that meeting?
That was a union meeting, if the union wants to speak about
Well,
it.
I heard there was a 2-hour recording of that, so maybe CSA could make that public. And
But
everybody would know.
anyway, to get back, I mean, you were talking about, you're assuming that the Board of Managers talk to Kraus and know what's
That's
best.
their job, right.
Well, you know.
I don't know that, no.
Well,
I know
then
that-
why are you making assumptions?
They made a recommendation, that's all I'm saying, and that's their
Well,
job.
we never saw it. I never saw a
You heard
record.
presentations, you just said your presentation for both.
No,
of
that
them.
was
Which
back
is
in
it?
September.
Well,
I mean, we went to a board meeting, and they said they weren't voting on it.
I understand that, but you heard
And then they
presentations
didn't.
from both. You heard presentations from both, correct?
It was very light
Well,
PowerPoint presentation.
and
I don't think you should make a decision based on those
I think the
PowerPoint.
public presentations would be a great idea, for everybody.
Well, there you go.
And, but in lieu of that, maybe that'll happen next, but the hospital board is on record, doing the job they're supposed to do, and that's make a recommendation.
No, wrong. They have not made a recommendation. They may have to the paper, but the town board has not seen a recommendation. We haven't seen a
We
recommendation.
made a resolution.
We haven't seen that.
Well, Carol just told you that,
Wouldn't you think that the owners of the hospital should get a copy of that resolution?
I would think so.
That's a good idea.
Certainly.
And I would think you should be a little more proactive than sitting back and waiting for somebody to come to you.
Oh my God. 4 years! 4 years you sat here. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I would like to go there. I would like to go there with you, Joe. You were here half the.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not gonna.
I know.
I'm not gonna argue with you, Joe.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, but you do your job, so you don't argue with me.
Order in the court.
Hi, my name is Charlie Romine. I live at 23 Monroe Parkway, Messina. The first thing I would tell you, and if you can't hear my voice, I can speak louder, okay? Mr. Nicola, a few minutes ago, you were talking about, I forgot the word. Compromise. No, this community doesn't need compromise. It needs communication. You've got people working on both sides, okay? But you're not working together. Right now, all I hear is a lot of fighting. And I'm not pointing any fingers, okay? I'm sure there are fingers that could be pointed at, but that's not my job. All I'm saying is, you want open discussion, then get together as a group. Don't send one person from the board. When you want to meet the board of managers for the hospital board, meet together as two groups and compromise. You know, you want information, ask them all together, and I'm sure that between the members on all of these boards, somebody's going to get the information to you.
That would have to be a public discussion, or so. These guys don't like public discussion.
Okay, that's not my problem. Okay, I love open debate, and trust me, I've been in some good ones. You know, but first off, I would also like to say, you're elected officials, regardless of whatever the people say to you. You're elected officials. Use the decorum to act like gentlemen and a lady, although you have done very well. Okay, but just remember, these people have more involved in this for some of them than you guys do. We all risk to pay big taxes, but these people are not only going to be paying big taxes, they'd kind of like to have a job afterwards so that they could pay those big taxes.
Those people are these people as well. We are the same taxpayers that you are.
That's right, but your job's not on the line.
Yes,
Next
it is.
election.
Oh, well, let's not worry about that.